there's just something about him that always made me go, ugh. Things I admitted to doing things that are evil and vile and controlling, and how dare people be upset at me. All right, we got another legal mindset video. Let's hit it.
Mizkif has a new filing where he
Oh,
is
boy.
quite upset about the nickname. We're going to get into that today on The Legal Mindset, where we teach you to be your own judge. Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, and this is a Fast Facts video, the quick and dirty of the latest in legal news. So let's get right into it with the Mizkif versus emiru.
I don't know about anyone else, but Mizkif always gave me weird vibes. Like, even way before any of the stuff with emiru came out, I just never watched any of Mizkif's stuff. There's just something, there's this like aura, this creeping, like something just felt weird about him. And I know that's not like evidence of anything, but there's just something about him that always made me go, ugh, no, thank you. I do not want.
Lawsuit and the nickname. So of course we have our plaintiff Mizkif over here, little Matt.
What nickname is that?
No one cares.
Nope.
And he's getting
Probably
into,
not.
once again, another filing against emiru, streamer emiru, for some of her comments on her statement that she came out talking about her experience with her relationship with Mizkif. Of course, in this defamation lawsuit, which Mizkif has filed, it's not just against emiru, it's also against Asmongold, OTK, Mythic. But we're focusing here on emiru because this specific motion to dismiss.
He's shotgun suing everyone he could possibly ever think of, and it's not going to work well for him. I'm certain of it. He's not going to win these.
This is the one that emiru filed that has the most chance of being denied. It's really the one that's up in the air. So it's a very fascinating case for study of whether or not this is going to be granted and whether or not the case will go forward against emiru. So we're going to analyze that today. But mind you that many of the pieces of evidence and statements come from Mizkif's own statements. They also come from emiru's, obviously, statements. So a lot of these things are things Mizkif said himself. And so looking back and examining that is part of the analysis here. So
he's so dumb. It's so stupid. Oh no, people are saying things that I said in myself. Oh, I admitted to a bunch of criminal things. I admitted to doing things that are evil and vile and controlling, and how dare people be upset at me? Like, what the hell, Mizkif? Like, get your shit together, man.
Let's jump right into it with this latest filing, which came out just a few days ago in the Western District of Texas, the Austin Division. You can see the filing here in the case number. Now, in his response, he focuses on really rebutting what is the weakest point of emiru's arguments. Now, she made some arguments about not giving enough detail, not giving a definitive enough statement. Those things were perhaps good points. But one point which is the weakest was this argument over emotional truth, and that it was her opinion, right, and not a statement of fact when she was going through her notes and reading through her arguments that she was making on her stream about that relationship and talking about that relationship. So in this response, the lawyers for Mizkif wrote, emotional truth is not a recognized defense to defamation in Texas. And the one case where the phrase is used, it in fact illustrates why emiru is not entitled to dismissal. So they're mentioning the Benson case, which is the case that is cited by emiru's lawyers. Further, even accepting such a doctrine exists, it would not apply. While emiru now self-servingly claims that her comments were off-the-cuff, improvised, and unrehearsed, at the time she made the defamatory statements in her live stream, she admitted that they were in fact planned, scripted, and indeed vetted by counsel. And the part that jumped out to me here is the vetted by counsel. Now, this is something which I was doubting back and forth, but you do have the statements here. When you look at this is from the filing itself, and these are from emiru, saying it first. So you can see I wrote my notes, and not only that, I have even more notes. So yeah, if it seems like I'm reading a script or something, it's because I wrote super detailed notes because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. And then she goes on later and says, and not only that, I've been in contact with a lawyer, which is pointedly bolded by Mizkif's lawyers here. I had them review everything that I'm planning to say today because I wanted to make sure that if I was going to do this, I was going to do it right because it's so serious. And that's the thing to me that's shocking, which I even doubted whether or not the lawyer read exactly everything, or a paraphrased version, or a version that maybe didn't have the exact language. Because once again, the comment that emiru made that got her to this point where we're questioning whether this motion to dismiss will be granted is literally the mention of SA. And had that not been in there, had the lawyer said, hey, look, let's just frame this differently, let's use a different framing, let's say you're uncomfortable, let's say you felt violated, let's say some other phrasing, let's not use that phrase, which is something that a lawyer would normally jump out and say. They didn't catch that if they indeed reviewed the notes. So that does work against that sort of argument of it being emotional and off the cuff. However, that does not remove the fact that it could still be opinion, right?
I still don't understand why she can't use the term SA. Why can't she claim that it was SA? I don't see how if, assuming that it went as she has described in her video, if it went exactly that way, then what would it be other than SA? I'm really struggling to understand what you would call that. I'm understanding he's saying that you should use a different term that's not SA. So there must be some, I think this is in Texas, there must be some very specific legality around that term in Texas. I wonder if she had said sexual manipulation or sexually harassed, felt, I don't know. I'm still not understanding exactly what it is that makes it illegal or wrong for her to have used that term. If anybody knows, please let me know in the comments what makes that wrong for her to use.
Something could be opinion and be part of notes. Something could be opinion and be reviewed by counsel. That wouldn't flip it out. So it doesn't completely destroy the possible argument from emiru. However, it makes it look a little bit worse and makes that bar a little bit higher for the judge to cross if they're looking to grant that motion to dismiss. Now, let's get into the nickname. So
the
this
nickname.
part
What is
was
this
very
nickname?
Interesting, and it reminded me of the Afro Man case, which we just came
God.
through with Officer
That was
Lemon
so
Poundcake,
good.
and the nickname
Oh.
that people are often given after something comes out. Obviously, in the case of Afro Man, he made a parody video, Lemon Pound
he
Cake.
sure
and people
did.
called him Lemon Pound Cake. And then afterwards, he was complaining, and as part of the suit, was saying that he was mad that fans were sending him Lemon Pound Cake. And
I reacted to Legal Mindset's video on the Afro Man suit as well, and yeah, I believe the officer that ended up taking on the nickname of Lemon Pound Cake said that he had hundreds of pound cakes that were sent to the station, sent to him. Personally, I would see that as an absolute win. I would love hundreds of pound cakes to be sent my way, even if it, please, if I have any haters out there, please hate me by sending me sweets and delicious things. That is the best way to hate me. Please do that.
as you might imagine, a content creator, a person putting out their parody, is not responsible indefinitely and unlimitedly for the actions of their fans, right? They're not responsible for everyone who decides to send a pound cake in. That's not something that they can control, or that's not something they're out there directing people to do. So in this, when Mizkif argues, it is the reality of the internet age, which emiru well knows, that information does not wait 30 minutes to hear the context before it spreads. Emiru's claim that no reasonable viewer of the live stream would have understood her allegations to refer to literal SA are belied, which means undermined, by the thousands upon thousands of viewers who clearly did. Since emiru's allegations, Mizkif has routinely been called a R word, we're going to use that on YouTube, both in real life and on the internet, where some commentators have gone so far as to call him Arkif. We're going to call him Arkif. That's the nickname that was given by commenters. Now, my point here is,
commenters aren't going to make a name that's like super hyper down to the dotting the I's and T's accurate. If you're in the ballpark of the R word, they're going to call you the R word. That's the nature of it. You don't want to be called that. Don't do something on that spectrum.
Is defamation looking at emiru, did she ever use that term? No, she did not.
No,
She did
she
not
didn't
use
use that
term.
term
She
at
didn't
all.
direct her followers to use
Nope,
that term.
sure didn't.
So we're looking back once again compared to Afro Man. You can't control what people are going to do or going to say. And obviously, your detractors, people that don't like you, are going to come up with the worst formulations, which you do not have liability for. Those words didn't come out of Emiru's mouth or Asmongold's mouth, certainly not OTK or Mythic. So trying
Nope.
to project that on is a stretch. But let's continue.
It really is. It's weird that he's trying to push
saying,
that.
assuming that Emiru ever truly thought that no one would believe she was accusing Mizkif of an actual SA, her total inaction to correct the record after it was plain that it was the message received is inexplicable. Her refusal to issue a properly demanded retraction under Chapter 73 of the Texas Civil Code makes it clear that Emiru's intention was to portray him as a R word. She cannot.
She did not say R word. She didn't say that. She didn't say it. She said SA. SA and R are two different things. So I don't know how. That's a very stupid argument. That's all. That's it.
Now, having accomplished that end, tarnishing his reputation and taking him from the career he spent more than a decade building, claiming she never intended it to be taken seriously. So this is a stretch. And this is one that I think is going to have a lot of difficulty arguing at any stage of the trial, whether that's at this stage or summary judgment or trial itself, is trying to say, hey, no, she had to issue a retraction for what fans said. I don't think that's appropriate at any point. Now,
yep.
They could argue, and this chapter specifically says you have 90 days to issue a retraction after a potentially defamatory or libelous statement. So, yeah, maybe she could have entered a retraction about SA and said, yeah, no, I said SA. I didn't mean SA. I meant something else, right? That is a plausible argument. But trying to say that the nickname is something that she needs to apologize for, that is too far, and that's something that I think is not going to work out in trial or somewhere else. So while he may have a point about his argument about emotional truth, I think the nickname is a thing that comes from the fans, that comes from people that you cannot necessarily control. It can also come out from detractors that aren't even fans of Emiru, that maybe just don't like Mizkif. So that's going to be a very difficult argument. Looking at the motion to dismiss, the standard is very, very, very much in favor of Mizkif. All the facts have to be taken in favor of Mizkif. So later stages, such as summary judgment and trial, can deal with factual disputes. But this really is only looking at the legal sufficiency of the plaintiff's claim. So in the judgment, assuming Emiru's lawyer did review her notes, I think they failed. I think they made a big mistake not to remove that important essay language and really prevent us from being here in the first place and getting to this stage of the trial.
Well, if they were reviewing her notes, if they were notes, more like bullet points rather than actual full written script, then it could be that they didn't know that she was going to use the words SA. I wouldn't immediately point fingers at the lawyers, though. Maybe they should have warned her against it or picked up on that. But it doesn't feel, to me, it doesn't feel like with a bunch of notes that she would have the exact words written out that she would be saying. So there is some, to take a nuanced view, there's some amount of Emiru being off the cuff rather than simply reading a script. But it is also prepared. It's somewhere in the middle.
However, Mizkif seems to be raising enough points to arguably proceed past the motion to dismiss level. So arguably, the judge may be able to find that and may be able to actually push this on further in trial. However, I think Mizkif is very unlikely to prevail at later stages, trying to argue and complain about his internet nickname and say this is something that Asmongold or Emiru or anyone else should really know about.
I did not know about this nickname that he had acquired, and he's upset that people are calling him that. He's upset that people know him that way. But in complaining about it, he has only made at least one more person aware of that nickname.
You can't control what your fans are going to say, and on the internet, people are going to come out with bad nicknames for you. They're going to come out with bad nicknames for you regardless of what people say about you based on situations. And that's just something that people on the internet have to accept. But I
True
will
or
say
false?
this: if
They're
Mizkif
going
wants
to
to
be
try to
bad
sue
nicknames.
any of those people that are calling him that, any commentators or other people, he actually would have a good case against people that are calling him the nickname. But what do you guys think about this case so far? I want to know in the comments below, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you, Andrew Esquire, for another legal wrap-up, legal fast facts. Oh no, you've ended up in my den. You must think that this is the end, but you have no need to fret. There's still more to come yet. Click on subscribe to let YouTube know just how far this channel should go. More will come later, or if you so need, click on another video to see more of me in your feed.